Recording in progress.
I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners, starting with a public hearing on the proposed intermunicipal liquor license transfer application of Beijing Chinese restaurant for use at 47 North Progress Avenue. Mr. Solicitor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the time and place that's been advertised for the public hearing with regard to the liquor license transfer of Beijing Chinese restaurant at 47 North Progress Avenue. I believe that the transfer is an liquor license. What we'll do is I will ask the applicant or the representative to provide whatever information they wish for the Board of Commissioners. Will then take any public testimony from everybody else that wants to speak on this issue, and of course any questions from the Board of Commissioners. Is the applicant here, and is the applicant represented? Bob, can you get the microphone to applicants? Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Alexis Shovel.
Okay. Is there anybody else that will be speaking?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Is there anybody else that will be speaking?
I do not believe so, no.
Okay. Ms. Shovel, do you want to provide information with respect to, or whatever presentation you have with respect to the transfer?
Yes. Yep.
Now's the time.
Now's the time. Do you have a preference where I stand? Or I know there's video over here.
As long as you don't run around in circles, you're fine right there.
Okay. Got it. So, good evening, Board. I am Alexis Shovel, and I am here tonight from Wicks, Wenger, and Widener to represent Xiaoming Wu before the Board for a request for the intermunicipal transfer of an E-Class license. So here tonight, obviously I'm Alexis, we have Steve Zaranin, also from Wicks, Wenger, and Widener. We have the applicant, Ms. Wu, and we have Jeff Corey, who is a real estate agent from RSR Realtors. So once again, this is a request for the intermunicipal transfer of liquor license number E785. The license is an E-Class license or an eating place liquor license. An eating class or an E-Class license is different from other liquor licenses. The primary purpose of an E-licensed establishment is the regular preparation and service of food. E-licenses may only sell beer or its variants. Liquor and wine sales are forbidden. The licensee can sell up to 192 fluid ounces of beer products in original containers for takeout purposes. The license is currently active and in use at 1665 South Cameron Street, Susquehanna Township, Dauphin County. We would like to transfer the license to a restaurant located at 47 North Progress Avenue, Susquehanna Township, Dauphin County. Both townships are in the same county, and a license can be transferred from one municipality to another in the same county upon approval by the receiving municipality. The request for this hearing was submitted under cover of Wicks, Wenger, and Widener via a letter dated December 14th, 2021, and an email on January 13th, 2020. So next, I will cover the background information concerning the restaurant the applicant would like to transfer the license to. Both the applicant, Ms. Wu, and Mr. Corey can verify this information as well or answer any additional questions. So the request is to transfer the license to Beijing Chinese restaurant, located again at 49 North Progress Avenue. This restaurant is located in a plaza at Progress Avenue and Walnut Street with many long-standing businesses and no other restaurants that serve beer nearby. Indicated by the name, this is a Chinese restaurant, and Ms. Wu has been in operation at this location for 10 years. Most of Ms. Wu's customers prefer takeout. Ms. Wu recently started participating in DoorDash, and this has been going very well. The hours of operation for Beijing Chinese restaurant are 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, and 10:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Friday and Saturday. There has never been any sort of trouble at Ms. Wu's restaurant, and like many other businesses during the pandemic, Ms. Wu's business has been impacted. In recent years, the number of dine-in customers has dropped, and Ms. Wu does most of her business by takeout and by delivery. Ms. Wu estimates that most of her beer sales will be primarily for takeout. Overall, Ms. Wu hopes that this license will increase her revenue and will be more convenient for her customers. So we are here, we're ready, we're available to answer any questions or address any concerns of the board or anyone who wishes to be heard on the application.
Council, can you affirm that this will be beer sales only for off-premises consumption?
Beer or its variants? Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Can you speak to the issue of whether or not the licensed area will be no less than 300 square feet?
I believe the answer to that is yes.
Okay. And will it have the other necessities required to fit the statute, including seating and sufficient food to accommodate 30 patrons at once as required by the statute?
Also yes.
Okay. And members of the, well, before we go to the members of the commission, is there anybody else who would like to provide testimony on this issue? Going once, twice? Okay. Members of the commission or staff, do you have any questions?
Mr. President, Mr. Solicitor, I was just checking for others who might be as ignorant about liquor as I am. What is a beer variant? What's an example of a beer variant?
Steve, I'm going to give this to you.
It's anything you can get at a beer distributor. So beer, cider, that kind of thing. So if you can get it from a beer distributor, then that would be a product that you could allow to sell with an E-license.
Thank you.
Actually, I had the same question, but I pretended ignorance.
So basically malt-based beverages.
That's correct.
You may have covered this, Mr. Solicitor, but was this hearing duly advertised?
This hearing was duly advertised, and we'll make the advertisement part of the record by reference. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from me, and then I'll turn it over to members of the board. Can you just call up and get a six-pack, or do you have to order food as well?
You do not have to order food with an E-license.
Okay.
You could just walk in and get a six-pack. And get up to 192 ounces, which basically is 2 six-packs per visit.
Okay.
I actually do have a question. Most of the business is through DoorDash. Of course, DoorDash isn't buying the six-pack and delivering it to people. You have to come personally to get that six-pack.
That's correct. There is a procedure that will allow for delivery of beverages, but that's very difficult to get, and it's expensive to be able to get essentially a distributor type of license to take it from the restaurant to someplace else.
Steve, that's
There's
not
no
what this
intent to-
applicant is doing, right?
That applicant is not looking for that kind of
Okay.
special license.
Sorry, any other members of the commission?
Yes, can I ask, for patrons who eat at the restaurant, I assume they can order and consume the beer on premises?
They can, but they can't take it off the premise. If they get a beer, they have to open it and finish it there.
And will that service be available for
I
them to
think
eat
it will.
there? Because you mentioned 30 seats. I've never seen 30 people in your restaurant.
Well, the LCB requirement says to have a licensed establishment, you must have seats and food available for 30 people. So that's a base requirement for these kinds of licenses. Now, with the pandemic, the LCB has been very lax with allowing that to happen. So the seats are kind of pushed back, especially with the pandemic, and each individual restaurant is allowed to have their flexibility with it. You just have to have it available. You don't have to have 30 people there. You just have seats and food available for 30 people.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Does the applicant have anything else for the record before we close the record on the hearing?
We would just ask for the the board to approve our application so that we can move forward with the next step, which will be to transfer the license through the LCB process.
Well, the resolution to either approve or disapprove is on the agenda this evening at item K. So unless the board has any issues with regard to the testimony tonight, I would anticipate we would take that up. Anything else before we close the record? Anything from staff, Betsy?
Not at this time.
Then we'll close the record for the hearing and go back to our regular meeting. Thank you very much to both counsel for their able presentation, and I turn it back over to the president.
This hearing is closed. This is the meeting of the Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners. Today is February 24th, 2022. This is our workshop meeting, and having just completed a hearing on the liquor transfer license transfer, we will call this meeting to order. I would note that the board did meet in executive session to discuss matters permitted by law, including personnel and real estate. All commissioners are here with the exception of Commissioner Engel, who is excused. We'll start next with a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, and I would ask that the pledge be led tonight by Commissioner Rothrock.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everybody. We'll begin with public comment. Does anybody wish to address the board tonight? Nobody? Okay. Moving on to the agenda, we'll get to our approval of minutes from our regular meeting, February 10th, 2020. I will note that I did note a correction that I passed on to Kathy Fry, and she will take care of that. Does anybody else have any comments or wish to make a motion at this point?
I also move, Mr. President, approval of the minutes.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hisserow.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Presentations and briefings. We have a certificate of achievement for Orion Keller. Mr. Knaus, you want to help us out here?
Good evening, Commissioners. So yes, Orion Keller is a member of Troop 368 and is currently an Eagle Scout candidate. Part of the requirement to become an Eagle Scout is to perform an Eagle Scout project. So Orion successfully constructed and installed 4 bat boxes at Boyd Park, which not only benefited the township in terms of naturally managing bug control and mosquitoes at the park in the future, but also saved us money as well. We initially estimated the cost of $1,000 for bat boxes by the contractor for next phase construction, and it cost us $220. So very beneficial. So Orion and numerous members from his troop constructed and installed the bat boxes on, what was it, January 16th. And we would like to present a certificate of appreciation to Orion for his work and leadership amongst his troop members to install those bat boxes for us.
Orion, thank you very much for doing that. We really appreciate it. As you know, it's a brand new park for us. And you know, we need all the help we can get. We've been scrounging around for money, and you obviously helped us out on the money side.
Thank you for funding the project and giving me this opportunity.
Sure. You want to hand him the mic, Doug? And, hey, can you tell us what a bat box is, how big it is, and
So a bat box is a home for bats that's partitioned into several sections, and it acts as like a safe place to raise their young. And the bat boxes that I installed were about 2 feet high and 1 foot wide, and they had 4 different 1 inch wide sections. So all told, they were about half a foot, like thick.
and I guess they're mounted on trees, right?
Yes, we did
Okay.
that.
And how high up are they?
These bat boxes are about 7 or 8 feet up.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. And so how many bats do you think will use all 4 of them? Is that 4 times 4? 16, or do they multiple occupy?
Multiple bats can occupy a single box,
Okay.
and like even more than 4. So it, depending on, you know, how many bats there are in the area, there could be like from like 20 to 32 bats.
That's great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for doing this. I don't know if anybody else on the board wishes to say anything, but we really appreciate your efforts. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Commissioner Rothrock, who owns Boyd Park.
Yeah, Boyd Park's right in my backyard, and my wife hates mosquitoes. So on behalf of myself and my wife, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And could you come to my house and maybe install too?
He's a bat. He needs a box. All right, anybody else? Well, thanks again, Orion. Very much appreciated.
And on a side note, if anyone's available on Saturday at 12:30 and you're sitting in your house bored, Orion is going to be on Brain Busters with Central Dauphin High School. So you can view Orion in his TV debut.
I hope the subject of bats come up for you. Thanks again. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. Okay. We will forego for tonight the presentation on utilities and street condition mapping. We're going to hold that for another night. Is that okay? Okay. And we previously taken care of the appointment of Mr. David Probolka, who's here, as our incoming manager. He starts on March 1st. And very much look forward to your arrival. And thank you for coming tonight. Okay, next up is Doug, if you want to discuss this, or Betsy, whoever, ratifications of change in recreation fees for the Enclave at Ellerton. Actually, this would be Mike Miller or Betsy. I thought it was just a regular rec fees. That's next.
Doug, help me.
Slow it for a second.
There we go. All right, that's fine. As we've discussed previously in executive session, we have before you a development agreement for parcels number 62-23-96 and 62-23-23, and we have an adjustment for a greenbelt easement credit of $39,000, and it reduces the recreation fee $324,164 to $284,671,000. As we've briefed the board before, the formula that we reached is an equitable formula, and it does allow us the easement that we need for this property. And so all we're doing is adjusting it down by about $40,000, and it will, again, allow us to increase our recreation. Now, I'm asking that the board, the document in front of you is appropriate. I'm asking you to approve it conditionally so that we can incorporate the changes more formally and have it re-signed, but the approval will be sufficient for this evening. Betsy, anything else?
I have nothing to add.
Thank you, Betsy.
Welcome.
With that explanation, Mr. President, there's a motion to approve it.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Pine, seconded by Commissioner Filona. Any discussion, questions? I would just note that this was the result of some compromise between the township and the developer to take care of some mutual needs. Obviously, the developer's part, cash obligation, and the township part, along with capital area greenbelt, improvements to the greenbelt that had been not completed. So it's going to take care of about 150, 200 feet plus of the greenbelt between Andrea Avenue and where at the base of the enclave. So it's probably more than 300 feet. But while they're in the area, they're going to pave that portion, and that'll be a real help for people that utilize the greenbelt, but also for the people that will be living in the enclave. So that's just a little bit of background on that.
Mr. President, I do think, as you pointed out, one of the nice things about this is that for the compromise that we make, the township and its residents do get something out of it in terms of that. So,
yep.
So it's a great point.
Yep. Okay. No other discussion or questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next up is approval of our recreation fee schedule. Here's the jump ball, Justin. Who wants that? Doug?
Thank you again. So yes, the Parks and Recreation fees, we had some minor changes to that moving into 2022. We added a fee for use of the kitchen at the Veterans Park Pavilion when there's a rental. It's kind of a feature of that pavilion that no other pavilion has, and previously we were charging the same rate for all our pavilions. So it's a one-time charge of $20 if the user chooses to use that kitchen area, regardless of the time that they're renting that pavilion for that day. So that was one change. And the other was actually just the update to our day camp fee, which would be $135 per week per resident and $165 per week per non-resident. As discussed previously, those fees will also be all-inclusive, so it'll include any field trips or anything that we do with that program, so there will be no additional cost passed to the users for that individual program. And then our summer playground program, the fee for residents would be no fee, it would be free, and it would be a $20 non-resident fee moving forward for non-residents per week.
Okay, do any of our rec committee members have anything to add before we entertain a motion? Actually, we should entertain a motion first. Right, Steve? All right. Is there a motion?
I move to approve. Second.
Okay, and seconded by Carl. Okay. All right, any discussion? Mr. Filona or Mr. Hisro?
So I just want to point out that the playground program is really free for the residents, so I would encourage all the residents to take advantage of this coming season.
Okay. Anybody else? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, and I'll kick this off to Ms. Logan, consider extending conditional offer of employment to Corey Belichick to serve as mechanic with a tentative start date of March 16, 2022.
Thank you. This is an offer of employment for a second mechanic through the highway contract through Public Works. So he would be assisting Bill and the work that he has, and hopefully we can get on a better schedule of maintenance for both the police vehicles and the township vehicles.
Okay, and in your packets is a letter, a draft conditional employment letter for consideration and action by the board. Does anybody care to make a motion on that?
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Pine,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fleming. Any discussion, comments?
It's not that Belichick.
No.
It's a different Belichick. So your cars will run right.
I was directing my question at members of the board, but thank you, Solicitor.
I just want the record to be clear. Yeah, don't expect your football team to be.
Hey, I'm here all night.
Thank you very much. Beer equivalents.
Yeah. If there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next up is Resolution 22R02, which, if approved, would adopt the intermunicipal liquor transfer applications of Beijing Chinese restaurant for use at 47 North Progress Avenue. And this was the topic of a hearing held tonight. So we have the resolution before us. We heard the parties and their own attorneys describe the aspects of the transaction and the services that would be provided at the restaurant. So, given all that, does anybody care to offer a motion for the resolution?
Mr. President,
Mr. Pine.
I move we approve resolution number 2022-02.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Pine and Falone. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Next up, Resolution 22R03, application for Capillary Greenbelt Association Peer Grant. Mr. Canals, can you fill us in on this a little bit?
I can. So over the, starting the summer of last year, CAGA and their municipal partners began to meet as a group. Within that, police were there, township staff, and CAGA's leadership as well. And through this process over the past few meetings, it's been realized and recommended within the group of certain things that CAGA needs to kind of focus on to better the organization and the structure of the organization and the operation overall, and how we as municipal partners and CAGA can work better together moving forward in the future. So one of the recommendations that came through that was to do a peer-to-peer study for CAGA, funded through DCNR. So CAGA cannot apply for that program as a nonprofit entity, but we as a municipal partner with CAGA can apply for the peer-to-peer grant on their behalf, and then basically the work would be done for CAGA, and that the steering committee or the study committee would include all the municipal partners as well during that entire process. If we were successfully awarded the grant, CAGA would then reimburse the township the match. So we're really just the applying agency for the grant. The scope, which I included in the memo, the main things to focus on would be better maintenance practices, communication, safety, and communication with our police departments, how we can access the trails. Because one of the things that, since I came on board, was trying to determine who's maintaining what, who's responsible for what, and it's always been kind of a handshake and an ask, and it kind of went its way. But as leadership changes within all the municipalities and staff changes, it's better to have something kind of concrete, and we all understand what's moving forward, as well as with CAGA and their partners. So that's going to be one of the main topics and goals of this peer-to-peer study, along with looking at possibly having CAGA hire a part-time executive director to be kind of the constant go-to for all the municipal partners instead of us as municipal partners talking to 20 different volunteers. So that's in a nutshell.
Is there a motion to authorize the filing of the grant?
Mr. President, I'd like to so move.
All right. Moved by Commissioner Hissarella.
And I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Falona. Any questions?
Just
Comments?
one.
Yes, sir.
Just one, Mr. President. Is there a match to this grant, though?
Yes, it's a $1,000 match, which is what CAGA would be reimbursing the township.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I missed that.
The total grant value is $11,000.
So it's a 10% match?
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay, thank you.
And other municipalities, I guess, at least by representation, would be involved in the study?
Yeah, so we're currently, we have a reach out to all partner municipalities currently for letters of support for the application. And then they would all be basically having a seat at the table throughout the study as
Gotcha.
well during the entire process. And probably we would bring in police and public works and other needed departments as well within those municipalities.
Gotcha. Okay, any other questions on this? All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Next up is building renovations. Betsy?
This is a payment, application for payment, for the first payment in the amount of $92,567.07 for the building renovations. This is for the upstairs building renovations. It includes the majority of the demolition work that has occurred and the start of the construction. There'd be a remaining balance of $842,732.93, which includes the retainage. I anticipate that you'll probably be seeing one of these monthly until the end of May, assuming everything is shipped in on time.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the application?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Rothrock.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Pine. Discussion.
Yeah, so the completion date is for May of 2022?
Right now, it's end of April 2022. There are some items that are on a longer back order than anticipated, but we're working on solutions to that so we can be back upstairs by May.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Has this request been reviewed by our engineer?
It was reviewed by the architect who did the
Okay.
plans.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before we call the question? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, traffic studies. Chief, I don't know if you have anything to report on traffic studies at this point. Does anybody wish to discuss any traffic study issues that you'd like to see it happen? Okay.
Actually, just to bring it to the attention of the commissioners, I did ask for a review at Crooked Hill and Paxton Church Road, going beyond that towards Linglestown Road. One of my constituents had asked about speeders in that area and had some concerns, and I believe there was going to be some study conducted in terms of monitoring traffic in the near future. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the commissioners.
All right, thank you. Anybody else before we move on? Okay, next up, boards and commissions. Appointments. Got anything, Betsy?
as you see, have one vacancy for the Health Board and 3 vacancies for the Human Relations Board. We have 2 potential candidates, and we will be sending out their resumes in the next couple weeks for your review.
Thank you very much. All right, commissioner comments. Anybody have any? All right, hearing none. Move on to the next item on the agenda. And, you made the motion, okay. Commissioner Pine. Seconded by Commissioner Hisarell. Any comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are out of here.